You know, I don't follow nobody. I follow the Lord. That's it. That's the only following I'm doing is my Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ. I'm not following anybody else on this planet, period.
Denzel Washington's powerful voice is now in danger. At 70 years old, he is struggling just to speak. He recently suffered a gruesome injury.
Denzel Washington opened up about a serious injury he recently sustained, nearly biting his tongue off.
Telling the world in February 2025, "I bit my tongue almost half off." He says it has affected everything. This isn't just a simple injury. It's a tragedy that feels like a dark echo, a dark warning from his past. But this tragedy, this attack on his very voice, feels like a dark echo of a warning he was given almost 50 years ago. A prophecy made when he was a young man who had lost his way. A prophecy about the power of his voice. The prophecy that changed everything.
She wrote down, she said, this boy is going to speak to millions of people. I don't talk about that a lot, but I've kind of felt like, well, maybe I have some job to do.
To understand the Denzel Washington we see today, you have to go back to March 1975. He was not a star. He was not a legend. He was a lost young man. He had just flunked out of college and was told to take a semester off to figure out his life. He was at a crossroads with no clear path forward. He was visiting his mother, Lennis, at the beauty salon she owned. As he sat there, one of the oldest church members, a woman named Ruth Green, kept looking at him. Denzel remembered her looking at him from under the dryer. Finally, she came over to him. She asked for a piece of paper and a pencil. She started writing. Denzel said she wrote prophecy she couldn't even spell, it. She also wrote the date, March 1975, and she wrote the number 28. Denzel didn't know what it meant, but he was born on the 28th. His wife, Pauletta, was born on the 28th. His first son was born on the 28th. Then this woman, who was known to have the gift of prophecy, looked him in the eyes. She told him the exact words that would change his life forever. She said, "Boy, you're going to speak to millions of people. You're going to travel the world, and you're going to speak to millions of people." Denzel was confused. He had no plans to do that. He thought maybe he was supposed to become a preacher, like his father. He even went to his pastor and asked, "Should I become a preacher?" His pastor told him, No, you're doing good right where you are. You are a preacher." From that day on, Denzel knew he had a purpose. His voice was not just a tool, it was his destiny. He was told he would speak to millions. But what no one knew was that before he was given this prophecy, Denzel was on a path to never speak again. He was heading for a life of silence, the silence of a prison cell. A story of survival.
Never gave up on me. Never gave up on me. And she had a lot of reason to.
My three closest friends did quite a bit of time.
Really?
Oh yeah, in decades.
Denzel Washington's childhood was far from the perfect life we see in Hollywood. His father, Denzel Sr., was a Pentecostal preacher. He was a spirit-filled man who worked hard. He had 2 churches and at least 2 full-time jobs. Because of this, he was rarely around. His mother, Lennis, was the opposite. She was urban, raised in Harlem. She owned her own beauty shop. Denzel said his parents were like night and day. That pull between them couldn't last. When Denzel was 14, his world fell apart. His parents got divorced. This split sent him spinning. He admitted he went into a very rebellious stage. He was mischievous. He was getting into fights and running with a rough crowd in Mount Vernon, New York. He was heading in a very bad direction. He was getting into so much trouble that at 18, he moved in with his father. It didn't last. His father kicked me out, Denzel said. His father told him, "You're just bad." But his mother, Lennis, saw where this path was leading. She saw what was happening to the other boys in the neighborhood. Lennis was a beautician and didn't have a lot of money. but she saved every penny she had. She made a decision that would save his life. She sent him away to a private boarding school, Oakland Academy. Denzel said this one decision changed my life. Why? Because of what happened to the friends he left behind. He said, "I wouldn't have survived in the direction I was going." He wasn't exaggerating. He spoke about his 3 closest friends. What happened to them? The facts are chilling. Denzel revealed their exact fates. One did 28 years behind bars, one did 20, and the other did 12. In total, his 3 closest friends spent a combined 60 years in prison. He later said one of them is now dead. The other 2 are out. Denzel knows how close he came. He knows how thin the line was between his life and theirs. He once said, "Some did 20, some did 30 years in the penitentiary. The only difference between them and myself was the Boys and Girls Club. The only difference." He remembered going to the club and seeing college pennants hanging on the wall. He said it was the first time he pictured a positive future for himself. He escaped. He survived. But you have to wonder, does a man ever forget that? Does he ever stop looking over his shoulder? Does he ever stop feeling guilty for being the one who got away? He escaped that prison. He made it to Hollywood. He started to fulfill that prophecy. But he would soon learn that to become a legend, he would have to pay a price. And the cost of his first Oscar would be paid in real blood, sweat, and tears. The price of glory. In 1989, Denzel Washington starred in the movie Glory. He played Private Tripp, a runaway slave who joins the 1st All-Black Regiment in the Civil War. This role would win Denzel his first Academy Award. But the story of how he filmed his most iconic scene is agonizing. The scene is the whipping. Private Tripp is caught after going AWOL, absent without leave. As punishment, he is to be flogged in front of the entire regiment. But the tragedy of the scene is why he left. He wasn't a coward. He wasn't deserting. He had gone to find a pair of shoes because the army was denying the black soldiers supplies. He was being punished for fighting the injustice within his own army. The scene is almost too painful to watch, but the story of how they filmed it is even worse. The director, Edward Zwick, filmed the scene twice. He had Denzel receive 3 lashes, but the director wasn't satisfied. He looked at the footage and felt there was something more to be mined. He wanted more pain, more humiliation. So he made an excuse to Denzel to do the scene one more time, but this time he secretly told the actor holding the whip, John Finn, not to stop until Zwick called cut. Denzel thought he was just doing another short take. He braced himself, but the whipping started, and it did not stop. Denzel took 8 strokes. The director later wrote that the shame and mortification were real now. In that moment, a single tear appears and rolls down Denzel's face. For years, people said it was a signature move, a brilliant piece of acting. Denzel hates that. He later revealed the truth. It was a real tear. He said the fake whip they used was wet, and because they did the scene so many times, it was hitting him in the back and actually hurting as it tore into his back. He was in real pain. He was truly being hurt to get the perfect shot. A black actor being whipped by a white man for a white director to show the pain of slavery. He won the Oscar for that pain. He survived the whip. He won the Oscar. But the roles only got darker. Soon the pain wasn't just physical. It was mental. He had to go to places so dark it scared everyone around him. I had to be willing to go to those dark places.
I'm the police! I run shit here! You just live here!
When Denzel Washington prepares for a role, he doesn't just learn the lines, he becomes the character. And when the character is a monster, he has to become a monster too. For the movie Training Day, he played the corrupt and evil cop, Alonzo Harris. This was the first time he had ever played a true bad guy. To get there, he had to dig deep. He later said, "When you add aggressiveness to your personality, it brings out the darker side. I had to be willing to go to those dark places." He went so deep into the character that it terrified the people on set. The screenwriter, David Ayer, said, "Watching Denzel bring Alonzo to life was really chilling. It gave me goosebumps. He became so much like Alonzo, it was scary." His co-star, Ethan Hawke, knew he couldn't compete. Hawke said he prepared for the movie by studying how other actors acted with Denzel just to keep up. Hawke even said, "If I just do an okay job at this, then this guy wins the Oscar." That's how powerful and scary Denzel's performance was. He won his second Oscar for that role, but it came at a cost. Then came Fences. This role was even more personal, more painful. He played Troy Maxson, a former baseball player whose bitterness over racism has permanently jaded him. He is a bitter, angry father who hurts everyone he loves. The movie is almost entirely just dialogue, set in one small house. There was nowhere to hide. It was fierce, intense. Denzel's performance was so real, it was described as a haunting. Authenticity. For people who grew up with fathers like that, the movie was almost too much. One person wrote that Denzel's acting resurrected ghosts and was a reminder, not a hope. It exposed, widened, and gouged vulnerable wounds. He then took on one of the darkest roles ever written, the tragedy of Macbeth. A story of murder, paranoia, and madness. You have to ask, can a man visit these dark places, Training Day, Fences, Macbeth, and come home clean? Can he just turn it off? His own wife, Pauletta, gave a hint of what it was like. She'd once said, "I live with this man. I see the down part. I see the sad part. I see every part." He poured his body, his mind, and his soul into these roles. He gave everything. But what did the industry give him in return? Heartbreak and bitterness. "I got bitter, my pity party." Denzel Washington should have more Oscars. Everyone knows it. And the constant disrespect from Hollywood has been a source of private pain for years. The first great heartbreak was in 1992. He performed his life in Malcolm X. He was Malcolm X. Everyone assumed he would win the Oscar, but he lost. The Oscar went to Al Pacino for Scent of a Woman. Why? People in Hollywood said it was a makeup call. The Academy felt bad for not giving Pacino an Oscar for The Godfather or Dog Day Afternoon in the 1970s. So they gave him one for this movie instead. By fixing an old mistake, they created a new wrong. They robbed Denzel. But the snub that truly broke him, the one that sent him into a dark spiral, came in the year 2000. He was nominated for the Hurricane. He played the boxer Reuben Hurricane Carter, a man wrongly imprisoned for murder. Again, he was the favorite to win, but he lost. Again. This time to Kevin Spacey for American Beauty. Denzel later confessed what that loss did to him. He said, "I gave up. I got bitter, my pity party." He was so angry, he stopped caring about the Oscars completely. He told his wife Pauletta, "They don't care about me. I don't care. I ain't watching that." This wasn't just a bad mood. This bitterness lasted for over a decade. He made a shocking confession. He said, "For about 15 years, from 1999 to 2014, when I put the beverage down, I was bitter." He connected that 15-year period of bitterness directly to his drinking. The heartbreak was real. The pain was real. The snubs didn't stop. In 2017, he was nominated for Fences. He lost to Casey Affleck, who was in the middle of a sexual harassment scandal. When Affleck won, he said Denzel taught him how to act. The camera cut to Denzel, who just stared with a blank face. Even in 2024, his performance in Gladiator II got unanimous praise. But when the Oscar nominations came out, he was snubbed. The pattern continues. He was bitter for 15 years. He learned the hard way what happens when you are at your very highest moment. He learned that's when you are most in danger. It was a dark lesson, a lesson he would one day give to another star on the world's biggest stage. At your highest moment, be careful.
Denzel said to me a few minutes ago, he said, at your highest moment, be careful, that's when the devil comes for you.
We all saw what happened at the 2022 Oscars. We both saw Will Smith walk on stage and slap Chris Rock. It was a shocking, confusing moment. The world stopped. And in the middle of all that chaos, who was the first person to step in? Denzel Washington. During the commercial break, Denzel and Tyler Perry went over to Will Smith. Photos showed Denzel with his arm on Will's shoulder, talking to him, trying to console him and calm him down. Just moments later, Will Smith won the Oscar for Best Actor. He was crying during his speech, and he told the world the warning Denzel had just given him. Denzel told him, "At your highest moment, be careful. That's when the devil comes for you." At the time, people thought Denzel was just being religious. He is a God-fearing man, after all. He once said, "When the devil comes at you, maybe it's because you're trying to do something right." But now, we know the truth. Denzel wasn't just preaching. He was confessing. He knew the devil comes for you at your highest moment because the devil came for him. When Denzel was at his peak, nominated for the hurricane, the devil of bitterness and anger came for him, and it stayed for 15 years. He was warning Will Smith about the exact same poison he had swallowed. Denzel knew the devil comes for you. He knew the high price of fame. He had seen what it cost him, and he knew the price his own family was paying for the shadow his name cast. The burden of the Washington name. Denzel and his wife Pauletta have been married for 41 years. In Hollywood, that is an eternity. They met in 1977 on the set of his first movie, Wilma. He had to propose to her 3 times before she finally said yes. Their marriage is held up as a perfect example, but they are very open that it has not been a fairy tale. Pauletta was asked about the secret to their marriage. She was honest. "It's work," she said. She also said the key is a lot of prayers for strength for staying in a forgiveness mode, and both parts, mine and his. Forgiveness is a strong word. What did she need to forgive? Pauletta gave a very honest and heartbreaking look into their life. She said, "I live with this man. I see the down part. I see the sad part. I see every part." She then added, "He has that stability in me, regardless of if he misuses it. I can't dwell on that. Regardless of if he misuses it." This connects to Denzel's own words. He admitted, "I've done a lot of damage to the body. We'll see. I've been clean. Be 10 years this December." He admits he did damage. His wife admits she had to find forgiveness. Denzel has praised his wife for holding the family together. He said, "My wife has made our house a home and raised these beautiful kids and protected them and sacrificed for them. She did the heavy lifting." But the tragedy doesn't stop with them. It passes down to their 4 children, John David, Katia, and the twins, Malcolm and Olivia. They all went into the entertainment industry. They are all working together now. John David is starring in The Piano Lesson, which his brother Malcolm directed and his father produced. But it's not easy living in that shadow. His oldest son, John David Washington, is a famous actor now, but he lives with the burden of that name. John David gave a heartbreaking interview. He was asked about his love life. He said, I've had a hard time trusting people because of my family, so my relationships have faltered because of that. Does of that a bit. Read that again. I've had a hard time trusting people because of my family. The fame that Denzel built, the name he made, it cost his son the ability to trust. It's a life of hard work, forgiveness, and seeing the sad parts. But there was one person who held him together, one person who was his rock through it all, one person whose loss would prove to be the most heartbreaking tragedy of all. The final heartbreak.
Didn't cry at a funeral.
Why do you think?
I don't know. I guess I saved it up for you.
His mother, Lennis Washington, she was the woman who was part of the Great Migration, the woman who opened her own beauty salons to pay for his private school, the woman who saw he was on a path to prison and saved him. Lennis passed away in June 2021. She was 97 years old. Months later, Denzel went on The Late Show with Stephen Colbert. He was there to promote his movie, The Tragedy of Macbeth. The host, Stephen Colbert, gave his condolences. He asked Denzel about his mother, and something happened that no one expected. Denzel Washington, the strong man, Alonzo, Malcolm X, Private Trip, the pillar of strength, began to break. He choked up. He tried to speak. He managed to say, "A mother is a son's first true love. A son, especially that first son, is a mother's last true love." He couldn't continue. His eyes filled with tears. He asked for a tissue. Colbert, trying to help, showed a photo of Denzel and his mother. It was from the 1990 Oscars, the night he won for Glory. In the photo, Lennis is beaming, so proud of her son. Seeing the picture of his mom, happy and proud, Denzel broke down. Through the tears, he said, "This is terrible." And then, he made a shocking confession. He looked at Colbert and said, "And I didn't cry at her funeral." Think about that. The man who was her first true love was so locked up, so strong, that he couldn't even cry at his own mother's funeral. The grief was so deep, he couldn't let it out. When Colbert asked him why, Denzel joked through the tears, "I guess I saved it up for you." He joked that he gave his mother the hardest time. He urged the audience to hug and love their parents. It was a raw, heartbreaking, and public moment of grief. He lost his anchor. He lost his anchor. He lost his mother. And now, in 2025, he is facing a new battle. A battle that brings us right back to where we started, the battle for his own voice. The prophecy and the pain. And that is the tragedy of Denzel Washington. The man who was told he would speak to millions is now, at 70, fighting to speak at all. That bizarre injury, I bit my tongue almost half off, is happening at the worst possible time. He is currently in rehearsals for one of the hardest plays ever written. He is playing Othello on Broadway. A role that is all about the voice, the power of speech. But he can't. He said, "It forces me to slow down." He gave an example. He has a line, "Whither will you that I go to answer this, your charge?" He said, "It's hard because my tongue is swollen. It has affected everything." He has survived the streets that jailed his friends, the physical torture of his art, the 15 years of bitterness and the public loss of his mother. And now he faces this. He says he is leaning on his faith. "That's why you pray every day," he explained. "I'm like, okay, Lord, I'm here. I think this is what you wanted me to do." It is the final heartbreaking test for the man who was given a prophecy and who has paid the price for it every single day of his life.